Hey, welcome to the Ringer NBA show. Today we are talking to Jonathan Tjarks, Ringer blogger extraordinaire, about some summer league action and some other guys out here still in the restricted free agent market and some teams that are kind of making some noise out here in the remainder of the offseason. Today's episode is brought to you by TheRinger.com, believe it or not. Great website. Today you can check out Haley O'Shaughnessy with a great feature on Wilt Chamberlain's trade to the Los Angeles Lakers 50 years ago. Haley talked to some really important guys from that era, Jerry West, Elgin Baylor, just about how that kind of laid the groundwork for today's free agency culture where guys are kind of forcing their way to different situations. It's a really good read. Check that one out. And it's also, if you have some extra podcast listening time, listen to One Shining Podcast. Our guys, Tate Frazier and Mark Titus, I believe they're here in Vegas as well, popping in to check out some of the action. I think they're going to record some stuff for you guys. So definitely check in from the college perspective on the rest of these guys. And we'll get in with Tjarks here. Thanks for joining us. Hello and welcome to the Ringer NBA show. I am Justin Verrier. Joining with me, Jonathan Tjarks.
How you doing, man?
What's up, man? We are here from lovely Las Vegas, where we are at the Caesars Palace Casino and Resort, I presume is how you say that, in this lovely villa surrounded by several Ringer staffers. Tjarks is just raving about the brunch scene
I just
here.
killed the breakfast buffet, man. It's fantastic.
The brioche game, I hear, is really...
brioche and crepes. How do you say it?
Crepes.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
You're a real francophone, I could tell.
I'm getting there. I'm becoming more classy by the minute saying it's Caesars.
So we've been here, what, 3-4 days now?
It's hard to even tell anymore. Like I've lost track of time.
Each day is
my
like
voice
5
is
days.
shot.
Yeah, nobody really has a voice anymore. We've been just sitting in a gym for the most part, watching a bunch of mediocre basketball, bad basketball, intriguing
There's
basketball.
fun players, but the actual games are horrible, but the players are fun.
I actually like coming and seeing these guys for the first time. I know the setting is complicated. And for a lot of these guys, if they play poorly, we'll just write it off as if they didn't have the proper teammates or people are doubling them and whatnot. But I don't know. I like seeing these guys for the first time. I like just the general like chill atmosphere. The Cox Pavilion is basically like a high school gym. So we can almost like reach out and touch Harry Giles, which might not be
That's
best
probably
for Harry Giles. But I mean, one thing we've been talking about throughout the past few days is just the big men in this draft class and how they kind of defined.
It feels like, there's so many good bigs.
Right. I mean, how many went in the top few picks? Deandre Ayton, number 1 overall. Marvin Bagley went 2. Bombo went 5, I believe, to the Magic, or 6.
Bombo went 6.
Okay.
Jackson went 4.
Jackson went 4.
Carter went 7. So that's 5 out of the top 7 picks.
So we were talking about these guys pretty much leading up into the draft for weeks, and now we get to see our first glimpses of them. I guess your takeaway, like, what do you think of these guys so far?
Well, what's really stood out to me is like it's even deeper than that. So the other guys, the one guy from last year's draft who's still here is Jonathan Isaac. He's as big as any of them, and he's killing it. And then you have 2 more guys who've been off the radar. You have Harry Giles. He was considered the top big man in his class 2 years ago before he destroyed his knee.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone kind of wrote him off as he'll never be the same. He's back this year. He's playing really well. He looks good. He looks like an elite big man. I mean, elite's probably strong, but he looks really good. And then Mitchell Robinson, the guy that nobody knew anything about. He didn't go to college. He was totally off the map, fell in the second round. And you watch that guy play, you're like, oh my gosh, he's got as much talent as any of these guys.
Yeah, I've been watching a few of these guys. And what's interesting is, like, yes, the top picks have been interesting and have done some stuff, but the guys next to them are almost more intriguing simply because they no longer have the shine to them. Jonathan Isaac obviously missed a lot of his first season. Harry Giles missed his entire first season, so he is technically still a rookie. And Mitchell Robinson, Kevin Knox has been getting a lot of the buzz just because of some of the dunks he's been having, and he's really athletic. He seems like he fits that kind of two-way model teams are looking for. But Mitchell Robinson is out there. He's just a massive human, and he's almost as if like he has a guard's body and someone just like stretched
so
them
well,
out.
for sure.
Like, he has been showing some fatigue issues. Like, he seems like
he hasn't played.
Yeah, but he hasn't played for an entire season. So I do wonder like how much those guys will factor into it. Do you think Giles specifically has a chance to maybe even win Rookie of the Year?
I mean, I feel like, so I'm not sure Sacramento's going to win enough games. I feel like generally Rookie of the Year goes to the guy on a good team who puts up stats. I mean, Sacramento's going to be tough for them to really.
Yeah. I mean,
I think also they're going to, Sacramento better bring him along slowly. Do not rush this guy back and play him 30 minutes at 5 right away. That'd be insane.
Yeah, and that's the question because they do still have a lot of guys in that front court. I saw Costa Kufos just
Guys
hanging
is the
out.
word, though.
Yeah, I mean, Willie Cauley-Stein, I still kind of like him in theory.
Theoretically,
I think like he's active. He can get out and defend a few positions. So I don't know what they're gonna do there, but I do think it's funny that we're talking about Giles way more than Marvin Bagley, a guy that I think, while we knew that his fit would be a little complicated in the NBA, he'd be more of a stats guy than maybe a guy that would be on a winning situation. But he got hurt here already, and he's kind of seeded the floor here. Have you seen a little bit of Bagley? And I guess, what do you think about him?
See, I always kind of thought he'd be a project. I still think he's got incredible talent, but nothing he's done surprised me. Actually, I was surprised in a good way. They're letting him take the rebound and bringing up the floor, and he made a couple good passes in transition. I think the thing with Bagley that's encouraging is that he's very fluid off the dribble, but then he has to become a good shooter for that to matter, and that's a long way away. That's where the project part comes in.
Right. And I guess the one guy who's really doing well in that area is Jaren Jackson Jr. I think he had 8 for 13 from 3. He was really from afar. I mean, I kept tabs on some of those draft guys, but I pretty much had it filtered through you and Danny Chow.
Great word. And Kevin O'Connor.
And
Don't
Kevin
forget
O'Connor.
the great. He's sitting over here right now. It's too cool to this podcast. But
there you go. And pretty much Jaren Jackson Jr. was, if not the number one blog guy, definitely
he was
number 2.
He was the number 1 blog guy.
I mean, Luka definitely.
I guess, that's fair.
He's the blog god.
That's a great nickname.
I mean, I'm bummed that Luka didn't play in this to divert the conversation just a little bit, because everything has to be about Luka at the Ringer. But like the natural tension of like the guy who got passed over from number 1 and everyone thought should have gone number 1, not being able to play against Ayton has really been a bummer in this summer league setting, I think, so far.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure it was ever really going to happen. The Mavs put out a lot of stuff. They kept changing their story. They were like, at one point, they were like, well, Real Madrid's in Spain. They don't do things on the weekends. Like, they can answer a phone call and sign a contract. I don't buy that.
Yeah, I guess the one thing he doesn't need to do is play more basketball over the summer, because he's been playing pretty much throughout the draft process. He's won every MVP award that like the EuroLeague has to offer.
I guess my Luka take, I didn't realize he had 2 big tattoos on his arms.
Whoa.
So he's got a Bengal tiger and an eagle. And so I've been asking around the tattoo people in Vegas.
Wait, are you asking tattoo artists?
No, like the NBA bloggers who have tattoos.
Okay.
So I'm not a tattoo guy.
Sure.
And they're telling me like it's unusual for a guy for his first tattoos to be his forearms. Usually it's your upper arm because you can hide that. Mm-hmm. And they're like, if he's getting forearm tattoos at 18, he's probably going to have full sleeves pretty soon.
Because that's the Lonzo move. I noticed he has the forearm going as well. I don't know if you've been on tattoo watch.
I'm more watching Luke a little closer.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that he's constructing an entire jungle on his non-shooting hand. Hopefully it's not a shooting arm.
Not strictly for passes, that one.
But yeah, I mean, Bagley, I don't know. I've never been a big fan, but at the same time, was never a big fan with Ayton either.
Yeah.
I mean, they went up against each other, I think the first night here.
It was really disappointing because it ended up being Giles guarded Ayton and Bagley played Fender. So they hardly ever played against each other. We were all pretty bummed.
Classic summer league where you anticipate just like 2 rookies going at each other and they never go anywhere near each other. But I don't know. Ayton, to me, he seems active, but he seemed a little passive off the ball. Like when he got touches, he was able to go for it, but I don't know. His screens were just like really lackadaisical, and he seems like the type of guy you're going to need to keep engaged.
I think with him, it's weird because he has the shot and he's so athletic, but he's actually more of a post scorer right now. Like to get him involved, you got to run an offense and like post him up, and it's really hard to get post guys touches in summer league because like the other didn't shoot like Ayton and like Jackson and Isaac and those kind of guys. They'll just forward the 3-point line and get shots up that way. Ayton really needs the ball given to him inside. And with summer league, it's always like, oh, this team has no point guards. It's tough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he was getting double teamed a lot, I think was the case there. But I have to say, I've come up with what I call the Buddy Hield zone.
Interesting.
Which is where a guy who was picked in the lottery doesn't do too well at summer league, and everyone writes it off because Steph Curry also didn't do too well in summer league. But then in actuality, they probably aren't that good. It's just that we rationalize that guy it's summer league and we don't want to read too much into it. But a guy like Trae Young, for instance, like I don't know, I didn't really see it, and so I do worry a little bit with Ayton if he's not out there dominating from the start, especially given his size and physical advantage over some of the other guys there. I do wonder.
Well, here's the thing with Ayton in college, that's a difference. Like because he was lifting off all these bigs. he didn't really have that much of an advantage on Harry Giles. Like, there's so many good bigs. So, like, all of a sudden, Deandre Ayton's otherworldly size and athleticism, instead of, like, just dwarfing people, he's just slightly bigger and slightly faster.
Yeah.
That's like honestly, Harry Giles outplayed him. That doesn't really mean that much, but he outplayed him in that game.
Yeah. And I guess Ayton is what, like 20 at this point?
I have to look it up. They're all the same age.
But he looks like
he's 35.
30. Like, I don't know how you physically matured that quickly. Here I am, just a blog boy eating chicken fingers.
Well, we certainly wouldn't be doing that.
Well, I don't know about you, but I think I have some game left in me. So I guess based on 3 or so days of Summer League, who's your Rookie of the Year favorite?
Okay, this is not the guy I think is the best. Just when I've talked to people, I think Collin Sexton, because I think Cleveland's going to try to be good next year, keep their guys, and then he'll have the ball a lot. And so if they're an 8th seed and he's putting up a lot of counting stats, he'll probably be Rookie of the Year.
One guy I was looking at, kind of similar there, and maybe it's just because guards, it might be easier in Summer League because they have the ball. Yeah. They don't have to rely on other guys. But Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I didn't watch a lot of him, but what I saw I really liked. He has like a poise to his game that I wasn't expecting, and a lot of pull-up jumpers, which I'm not sure I'm thrilled about, but he definitely knows like how to get his shot off, and he can be a little crafty getting to the rim. I don't know. I think there's a possibility that like the Clippers could start selling off guys before the trade deadline. Maybe a few wins don't go their way and they could start tanking a little bit, and all of a sudden Shai's in that Rookie of the Year conversation. I'm doing a story on him and Jerome Robinson. I talked to Shai maybe 2 days ago. I don't even know when I talked to him. Great guy,
fantastic. Great. And it was funny. I was asking about his jump shot because that was a big question about him, and he's like, "Well, at Kentucky, my role was to attack the rim and not shoot." And I was like, It's very, very John Calipari.
Yeah,
everyone attack the rim. We don't need shooters.
But you think he can't shoot?
It's better than I think he's given credit for, because Calipari was just telling him to attack the rim constantly in college.
Yeah.
So it was because everyone was like, "Man, he's a very reluctant shooter." I don't think he is. I just think in college he was being asked to just attack constantly.
Yeah. All right. I think we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll get back to some more general NBA topics.
Cool.
Today's Ringer NBA show is brought to you by Burrow. You owe it to yourself to experience the comfort of a Burrow couch. Burrow brings style and comfort to a new level and ships to your door fast and free. Your relationship with your couch will never be the same. Burrow sofas are handcrafted in the same factories in North Carolina as other high-end retailers, but Burrow delivers them for much less with their innovative, award-winning design. Customize your Burrow sofa to match your style by selecting the color, size, armrest height, and leg color that is perfect for you. Shipping is fast and free, unlike the rest of the furniture industry, and every Burrow has a built-in USB charger. Enjoy 30 days of cozy on your comfortable Burrow risk-free, or try Burrow at one of their partner showrooms today. The Ringer has a Burrow at the office. It is just lovely. I sit on it occasionally to do some work, to read some of the blogs that you are checking out on theringer.com, hopefully. Tjarks is a big lounger, and so he appreciates all of the Burrow comforts. Customize your own Burrow and get $75 off your order by going to burrow.com/NBA. That's BURROW.com/NBA for $75 off your purchase. Burrow makes the luxury couch for real life. All right, we are back here in lovely Summer League, going to talk about a little bit more about guys who are left out there in free agency. It's really kind of a barren market at this point. It's really just a bunch of restricted free agents who have kind of been squeezed out of this market. The top guy there is Clint Capela. I think a guy we expected to be gone by now, or at the very least, maybe one of these teams with cap space, like the Kings or the Bulls or the Hawks, to at least take a chance on them.
I would have thought they would have squeezed the Rockets, but no one did.
Right. At the very least, you want to make the Rockets pay the luxury tax and get up there. But all of a sudden, the musical chairs have kind of stopped here, and Capela doesn't have a team. I'm just curious, like, what happens with this guy now? Is there a possibility that he signs the QO and comes back and plays on a 1-year deal, and all of a sudden the Rockets are looking at a bit more of a tenuous future than we expected?
I've heard he's really pissed about the offer.
Me too. Like, I think he went into the summer assuming, and we all assumed, that he was worth a max.
Yeah.
And then considering what DeAndre Jordan just got paid by the Mavs, I think you could argue that he is worth one.
I mean, you look at it like he clearly outplayed Karl Towns in the first round, and Karl Towns is about to make like $160 million.
Right.
So Capela's like, give me my cash.
Right. I mean, we talked so much during the season while the Rockets were spacing the floor just with shooters, like he created vertical space. This is something KOC has talked about a lot. Yeah. And it's just another advantage that they have. And I think it's one that, I don't know, if they didn't have him, and this is 2 years from now, so we don't even know what the Rockets are going to look like, but whether Chris Paul is going to get injured this next season, what's going to happen. But I mean, he's a big key part of their present and their future. And speaking of their future, I think they are looking at a certain guy that we all love dearly.
Dearly. We had a telethon for him. You know?
We did, I know. And he is going to be free soon. We're talking about Carmelo Anthony, obviously, and he's looking at a few teams. We don't really have a list to work off from, but there have been rumblings and I guess presumptions that he's probably going to follow one of his homies to one of these teams. The Rockets are one of them just because Chris Paul is there. Dave McMenamin had a tweet yesterday that Carmelo Anthony's business manager was sitting with a bunch of the Rockets principals. I think Daryl Morey, I think Mike D'Antoni was there.
The whole
Chris
brain
Paul.
trust sounds like.
Everyone comes to Summer League and just like hangs.
Well, it's just for like, scheming, cooking up villainous plots.
Right. So, I mean, I get it. They lost Trevor Ariza this offseason. They have a hole there at the 3, but Mel to me doesn't necessarily strike me as the type of
guy.
Does
he fit that hole? I don't know.
I mean, they need a 3-and-D guy, and he's a 3-and-3 guy.
He's more like an ISO guy.
Do you think, okay, so that's interesting. Like, a lot of what they do now is ISO based. Do you think like there's a place for him on that team?
See, I would like him in the Ryan Anderson role. If he's coming off the bench and just getting buckets. I mean, I don't know. I need him, guarding people and kind of
playing defense. I guess the Ryan Anderson role is a bit amorphous at this point because Ryan Anderson's role is to sit on the bench and just make an absurd amount of money.
It comes in handy in the regular season. Like he comes in and like gets like 20 points and wins a game for you. Melo could do that still, I think. But every night, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the question is if Chris Paul has been willing to take a back seat to James Harden and that whole structure there, is Melo the type of guy willing to suppress like maybe his ego or his desire to take shots?
You saw that press conference in this season. I mean, that was kind of worrisome what he was talking about.
Yeah, and then like as he was exiting the Thunder, he was basically like, yeah, I still don't want to do this. I wasn't kidding before. So I do wonder like if he fits there because a lot of the suitors everyone are talking about are basically title contenders.
Yeah.
You have the Lakers with LeBron, even the Heat. They aren't in the upper crust of the East, but Dwayne Wade is coming off the bench there, and if he comes back, presumably,
if Wade's coming back,
if he comes back, and I think it makes too much sense for him to come back, right?
Because I mean, he got burned with LeBron last year, chasing LeBron around. So I would think he wouldn't want to do that again,
right? And then if you're looking at a team with the Lakers of Wade, Melo, LeBron, Rondo and JaVale McGee, like
maybe get Chris Bosh back in there.
I know,
get the whole band together,
get everybody back there. I just don't know if it works there. But as a fan, I guess, or someone who's watched Melo way too long and has become emotionally attached to him in certain ways, I kind of want to see him go to the Clippers. Let's say that they strike out on Kawhi, which is a thing that's burbling over the past couple days here, and they just want to prove that they can like cater to a star player, and which is essentially what the organization is running toward here. They have all this cap space coming into 2019. I wrote about this the other day, but like there might not be anyone to spend it on, and so maybe this helps in that regard.
You know what's kind of sad? I'm thinking about this. They've got Tobias Harris and Gallinari. Like Melo's not better than those guys.
That's a great point.
It's like he's just not.
Well, what Gallinari?
Yeah, that's true.
Gallinari with a working glute, or not? But I don't know. That it's going to be a fascinating thing to see. It's pretty much at this point going past the summer. It's Kawhi and Melo.
Feels like everyone's waiting for Kawhi. Everyone's like speculating, like where's he gonna go? Like that's the talk of the town for sure.
Well, those guys plus another Lakers legend, Isaiah Thomas.
Oh yeah,
we're sitting here. What is it? Mid-July at this point, July 9th, so early July, and he still doesn't have a team.
We're not. Where is the team gonna be? I don't know.
I just don't. I don't know what he does at this point. There was some reporting that the Magic had kind of danced around and maybe talked to him a little bit.
That's not happening though. He's not going there.
Yeah, there was some counter reporting that came out afterward that they weren't really entertaining the idea.
I think they were thinking about it. That's as far as it goes.
Which makes sense because their best guard is the other Isaiah Briscoe, the number one Isaiah.
DJ Augustine is mad at you.
Yes. So I don't know. I mean, they have a lot of bigs there.
They need a point guard.
They need a guard. But at the same time, if you're looking to develop those guys, do you really want Isaiah Thomas jacking 30 shots a game?
Is he a culture guy for a young team?
I don't know. So if you were Isaiah Thomas or Isaiah Thomas's representation, which team would you be calling up right now?
China. The Chinese Basketball Association.
Calling up Yao Ming.
Get some of this.
See if he would
get those Brinks trucks, man. He could be so. I mean, Isaiah's not that old. He could play in China for 5 years, be the MVP. You know, he could make so much money in China and just be a legend over there. Or he could stay in the league and be hunted on the pick and roll defense.
Yeah, and it's worked for some guys. Like J.R. Smith went over there and came back and rehabilitated his career. And he had one of the most tumultuous like Chinese runs
Incredible
in history.
Stories from JR.
Yeah, where he would just like get fined millions of dollars for missing every single practice.
Did you hear about
reportedly
about the room service?
No.
So he would order room service just to do it and just stack room service things in his hotel room and never eat them.
I mean, I guess if you don't know the language and you're not interested per se in the culture and you're not really a travel guy, you're not the Bourdain of the NBA.
I feel like J.R. Smith has all kinds of culture in him. I would love to see.
He has a lot of stuff in him. Yes.
Get J.R. to the Great Wall of China.
Yes. But I mean, maybe Isaiah goes out there, like gets his money and then comes back and is maybe humbled a little bit. And
prove he's healthy, you know.
But it's just sad because 2 years ago, this guy was just a legend.
He was
with the Celtics.
I think he still will be in time. I think he'll get his Nerds jersey retired and stuff.
I do wonder what Celtics fans think of him now.
I think they love him still. I mean, if they didn't, that's kind of messed up.
At the same time, he kind of went out. He threw some shots. He's thrown some shots at pretty much everybody.
Time heals.
Time heals. Yes, that's true. That's very deep of you, Jonathan. I've always said that about you.
We're getting into the Zen stuff here in Newport, Vegas.
Right. But I guess another one of these teams that I guess is kind of at an inflection point, just like the Orlando Magic, the Memphis Grizzlies, everyone's favorite team.
Chris Vernon's favorite
Shout
team.
Shout
out Chris Vernon.
But Jaren Jackson has been interesting for them. They also signed Kyle Anderson to an offer sheet. Pretty steep price of 4 years, $37 million. I don't know if I would be giving Kyle Anderson $37 million. Have you been a Slow-Mo fan?
I like Slow-Mo. I think they were in this weird spot because the owner said, we got to win 50 games this year. And okay, we got to be good. And like they have literally no wings on the roster. And it's so hard to find threes. That's the hardest position to find. They're not out there. It's basically Kyle Anderson or Rodney Hood were your two options.
I still believe in Rodney Hood.
I believe in him too. But
I might have gone Hood.
It'd have been cheaper.
It would have been. I mean, he's had some injury concerns, and Slow-Mo, that's one thing you can kind of count on.
I mean, if you never jump, it's hard to get hurt. Yeah.
That's true. But I don't know. I mean, does it take the ball out of Mike Conley's hands a little bit more than you'd like?
I think that'd be good, though. I think they need to. He's a little older. Like I worry about Conley's injury history for sure at Memphis.
Yeah, and so now you really have this team in Memphis kind of walking the line between what they used to be and what they're maybe going to be with Kyle Anderson, Jaren Jackson. Dylan Brooks is still there.
I think he'll start at the 2, Dylan Brooks.
Really? At the 2?
Who else is going to do it? Look at that roster and you tell me who else is going to start.
The Chandler comeback is afoot, my friend.
Oh, here we go. Juliet's still here. She's liking it.
But I don't know. Like, do you start Jaren Jackson, or is someone like Marc Gasol gonna buck a little bit when you're playing next to a rookie?
I think JaMychal Green would buck. He's on a contract. I think they'll start Jackson off the bench and ease him in. You know, I mean, he's only 18. They might as give your veteran with a big contract, because if you bench JaMychal Green now, you've lost him for the season. You know, let it play out. And then if you need Jackson, if you're not doing very well, then you can bring him in. It's like, oh, here we have a push kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, they also signed Omri Caspi, a personal favorite of mine, but he couldn't stick on the Warriors last year, which at the minimum. So I don't know.
That's a bad sign if you can't stick in Golden State.
Not great. Wayne Selden, Ben McLemore, Marshawn Brooks, I believe is still
on the roster.
Technically on the roster.
Oh my goodness, that's awesome.
After his amazing end to the season, I mean, for me, the thing was like they didn't trade Tyreek Evans at the deadline, and
that was still crazy.
And they didn't really get much of it. So they're in this weird spot where their ownership clearly wants to win, and they went through all this turmoil, maybe not turmoil, but at least unrest during the middle of the season, where their principal owner had to buy out essentially the team from the minority owners. And I don't know if we ever got official resolution from that.
It's all super vague. I mean, my conspiracy theory is like, because he bought those guys out, he needs his money.
Sure.
He probably can't afford for him to be bad and like, not sell tickets. That's my suspicion.
100%. And they're, if not the smallest market, they're definitely in the bottom 5. I mean, I've always thought of them as just like another New Orleans, where
I think that's right.
If you have something to sell to your fans, they've come out. Like the grit and grind era was huge. And I know like from marketing execs in the NBA, they used to just flock to there and just like wanted to know the secret sauce that was able to like build a fan base essentially from nothing, from a football culture. But at the same time, like they're kind of stuck in this middle ground, and I don't know if we've ever seen that work. I mean, the Mavs are in the same position where you have veterans mixed with intriguing rookies in a conference where it's really going to be unforgiving.
Yeah. I think with Memphis, if you look at, so they're a small market team. Like if you really go back and look at it, the reason they're having to pay Anderson, was it $40 million? Is because they haven't been drafting and developing. Like that role should be your guys you drafted in the last couple of years, who none of those guys have panned out for them. And that's what really kills you for a small market team. You've got to keep that pipeline replenished.
Right. And you saw what the Pelicans did this offseason, losing 2 of their staples of their roster, one during the regular season and Boogie, and one in the playoffs with Rajon Rondo. And they got some intriguing guys in Peyton and Julius Randle, who I've called the slim fit versions of,
that was good.
Of Boogie
that,
Rondo.
Yeah.
Thank you. Did you RT it?
No.
You're not an RTer.
I'm not on Twitter, man. I don't tweet anything.
A mental RT from Jonathan Tjarks.
I think you told me that. I didn't even see it on Twitter.
Oh, really? I'm just very proud of this one.
It was a good take. I like
this one joke. But like they're in another situation where it's like they're trying to mix and match guys, and I like both players in a vacuum, and I think that they fit what they want to do there to a certain extent. But at the same time, they're on 1-year deals, so it's just going to be kicking the can down the road.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like they're always kind of on this like treadmill of like running to stay in place. It's all about Elfrid Payton. Do you like Payton as a starting point guard?
I like Payton as a player. I just need him to prove it. Maybe without his hair obstructing his vision.
Oh, that's a good.
Like
that's
he's
going
to
to
just start just draining corner threes. But I've always looked at it as it wasn't just losing Rondo. You were losing Rondo and peak Drew Holiday, just because Drew had such a good season last year. And I think to a large degree, Rondo brought the best out of him.
Yeah.
Drew was always thought of more as like, or at least from my perspective, as like the primary creator, pick and roll guy to Anthony Davis's roll man. And I think he did well in that role to a large extent, but you saw what he could do off the ball, and it freed him up to play more aggressive defense. And he was a monster on that. And I think he was all NBA second team this year, or excuse me, all defense second team.
I mean, what he did to Damian Lillard in the playoffs this year, man, that was vicious.
It was incredible.
He was pulling cards left and right.
And like, I'm not a big Rondo fan, but like that team just worked, and it had success in the playoffs. And so I don't know if Peyton's going to be able to step in right away in a year that's might be the most crucial now going forward with Anthony Davis, because he can sign an extension next summer. And if he's not going to, then you have to start looking at trading him next summer. So
that's why I was thinking with Peyton, I think you're totally right. Drew at the 2. So then, because like Drew can play the 1, but if you have a guy who can move him off the ball, it just makes him so much more dangerous. Because I love the Davis, Randall, Mirotic front court. That is a fun combination of players right there.
I think the trouble you're going to get in with them is the trouble they've had over the past couple seasons, where they don't have a 3 to mix and match with those guys.
Yeah.
It's essentially Solomon Hill again, and he creates some of the spacing issues that like they struggled with in years past. And with Randall, I think he'll be good mixing and matching, but I don't know what you do with him in crunch time. And I also don't know, considering a lot of his game is as a face-up big and a guy who likes to pound the ball a little bit, likes to create for himself. I don't know how that's going to work, because even though Rondo was a ball pounder, he was looking to set up guys, whereas I think Julius looks to score first. So I don't know.
I think what's interesting too with them, like when they got Davis and Cousins together, we all just kind of assumed, oh, Cousins is this big guy, he'll be inside, and Davis is this kind of lean guy, he'll be outside. But actually, it was Davis going inside and Cousins going outside.
Yeah.
And like, really, Davis was great with Mirotic on the outside and him on the inside. So if you had Davis and Julius are both kind of going at the rim. My assumption would be it'd be Davis and Mirotic in crunch time.
Yeah, I mean, it worked really well. And the one good thing they can carry over without Rondo, without Boogie, is that front court really worked. Davis seems like he really is convinced on playing the 5 more often.
I think it's like playoffs. Regular season, he'll save his body, then playoffs, go to the 5.
They still need the Emeka Okafor type to throw out there.
Maybe they bring him back.
Maybe. Check Diallo has made some progress. I didn't really get a long look at him in Summer League, but he's a guy that I've always been fond of. He's, as someone explained to me, he's the type of guy who is high IQ but never knows like where he needs to be. He's just,
how does that work? Exactly?
He's just like he's a smart player, but sometimes like he'll almost like overthink it.
Oh, like maybe the game is a little too fast for him still.
He's like 30 going on 15 sort of thing.
Okay, I
it's
got
like
you.
It's like a weird mix there.
Like overeager, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. And so I've always been a big fan. He's a really nice kid. I remember his first year, him having to call Ubers at the practice facility because I don't think he had his license yet.
Oh,
and he didn't appreciate everyone teasing him about that. But I don't know. I mean, they definitely need those guys that throw out there. But even in the regular season when Boogie went down, AD was starting a little bit more at center.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I like New Orleans, but I think what you just said, if you look at that Golden State series, it's the lack of perimeter length still wasn't addressed. And so like they'll either going Solomon Hill, bigger wing, can't shoot, or Etuan Moore, smaller wing, doesn't have the size. And so you had Drew guarding KD. It was just a tough matchup against Golden State, which I mean it's Golden State. Yeah. So obviously, but they just don't have a lot of length on the perimeter.
Yeah, they're a weird team where it's like they could finish 3rd in the West potentially if everything clicks, or they can not make the playoffs at all. I
mean, a bunch of teams like that.
Yeah, the West is just going to be insane. And then the East, on the other hand, maybe there are a couple good teams that will kind of spring up.
I think the top of the East is okay. It's just the bottom of the East is just going to be disaster.
Yeah, I mean, and there are still a few restricted guys. Are there any other guys free agency wise that you're intrigued by you want to see?
I think Marcus Smart.
Yeah,
to me, if I was Sacramento, I'd go after Marcus Smart. He's a culture setter. You know, 100%. Like I think you get him there. Everyone's competing more. The intensity ratchets up. I think that would be good if I was them. I would get a guy like that over Levine. I mean, Jabari's interesting too, obviously. Those two guys, Marcus Smart and Jabari Parker. Yeah, I mean, it seems like the Kings are after those culture setters. Like everyone in the past 2 drafts for them has come from like a blue blood college. Yeah. They went after Bagley. And part of it is probably guys who actually wanted to be there, who were willing to interview. That's never a great way to do things. I know, but I think Smart would be great for them. And the Kings are slowly turning into the new Nets, where they're just throwing money at guys to force other teams to match. Definitely the new Nets. I would assume the Celtics would match anything, but Jabari, I mean, I don't know, man. The Bucks are just like super confusing to me. They went out and got Ilyasova for a lot of money when just like a couple months ago we thought his career was kind of over. He's playing in obscurity in Atlanta, so maybe he was better than we assumed. He wasn't motivated. Ilyasova has been on 6 teams in the last 3 years. Wow. That's incredible. One of them was probably the Bucks, right? He's been moving around. He's been racking up air travel miles. But they also got Brook Lopez. I like that one though. I actually like both of them when not factoring in the money. And I think Brook didn't get paid at all. No, he got like $2 million. Yeah, it was something low like that. And Ilyasova, sure, but I guess what I'm trying to say is it makes sense with Giannis. If you're saying Giannis is a rim protector, defender extraordinaire. Let's get guys who are a little bit more stretchy. It's almost like the AD Mirotic thing. Yeah, totally. And so it makes sense, but like long term, I don't know, man. And I don't know what it means for Jabari and even like John Henson, a guy who's... I mean, John Henson's going to be sitting on the bench this year. That's all making a lot of money doing it. That contract was terrible when they brought him back. Yeah, they've really thrown a lot of money out. I mean, I think they stretched Dellavedova. I think they stretched him. They paid him. They stretched him this offseason, I think. Oh, well, he wasn't really doing too much. I mean, that's the thing. They throw money around. It doesn't really work out for them. They have the new Dellavedova in Dante DiVincenzo, another guy whose name is hard to say. Yeah. No, I mean, the new Dellavedova is Grayson Allen for sure. I mean, that's done. Yeah. So I don't know. I think the Bucks are at a really important part of their team, like building process, and if it doesn't work out this season, I think I'm a Bucks believer. I think just Giannis. I think I'm saying Giannis MVP campaign this year. Wow. Yeah. I mean, yes, he's one of the 5 best players, and he could do it if they get a top 3 seed, and he's like putting up silly stats. Yeah. I mean, but you look at what Anthony Davis did this year. I mean, what would they finish? 6th or something? Well, I think with Davis, because he kind of came on when Boogie went down. If he had put up those numbers all year, it'd have been a different story.
Okay, not to always make this about the Pelicans,
but it's always about the Pelicans.
My thing is Davis was just as good as he was the season before. It's just the storyline flipped. He no longer had Cousins, and he was rising from the turmoil and putting the team on his back. And yeah, they rolled off a lot of wins, but they were really good right before Boogie went down when those guys were together.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the season before they weren't in the playoffs, though, right? It's all about the. That's why I say with the rookie of the year, it's all about you got to be on a winning team. You know, narrative is important. We're blog boys. We know how it goes.
We love the content.
Hashtag that.
Yeah, I guess that's it. Are there any other Vegas guys you're looking out for over the next couple of days here?
Guys in the summer league.
Yeah.
One guy I've been watching. My guy OG Anunoby.
That's a guy.
That's my guy.
I'm surprised he's even playing.
It's cool. It's cool. Basically, they're just like, we're just working on your game. Like right now, they're like, OG, we want you attacking the rim off the dribble. It's like he's super raw right now. Sometimes it won't work. But then there was a couple of times against Minnesota, he got the ball faced up, 2 dribbles dunked in traffic. Like he's got an interesting game. I think they're really trying to grow him because obviously during the season, they've got all these established veterans. He's spotting up. And summer, like, hey, OG, just run the team, jack shots, who cares? Yeah,
he's among the guys that are too good for summer league. Jaylen Brown was that type last year, and I was watching Bam Adebayo the other day, and
they shut him down. I think
he's been flipping and flopping with Derrick Jones the past couple games.
Derrick Jones,
our guy.
I was telling someone this morning, I was honestly a near religious experience watching because I hadn't seen him play live before. Yeah. He had 3 incredible dunks in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Like I was almost left the gym. Like this is too much. He's just dunked on the entire team.
Yeah. And his thing is like if he can do anything else, like if he can shoot, like that's a player, man.
I have not seen an in-game dunker like Derrick Jones in a long time. He got hurt, unfortunately. I don't think he's going to play anymore.
Yeah, he rolled his ankle, I believe. So we'll see going forward.
I mean, like the first dunk, I'm like, what? The second dunk, I'm like... The third dunk, I'm just I got it.
The in-game dumps at Summer League are what we're here for.
Oh, I'm definitely here for that. Yeah.
We'll be here another day or two. We'll be hanging out at the lovely villa, watching Kyle go to work here, producing our podcast. But that's it from us. Thanks for joining the Ringer NBA show, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah. Have a good one, guys.